Hi, and welcome to the Astrology Dispatch for this full moon eclipse, Sunday, September 7th. This full moon eclipse is happening around tropical Pisces 15 degrees. And the Chandra symbol for this point on the zodiac is a peaceful child on a narrow ledge that overlooks a precipice. If you could just picture that, a peaceful child sitting on the edge of a precipice on a narrow ledge. This symbol speaks to true freedom, which is the inner freedom. The inner world is vast. The form we are trapped in is limited. Nothing is as it seems. The outer world is full of limitations. The inner world, there's no limitations. So the eclipse means that the nodes of the moon are with the moon and the sun at the time of the full moon. With the nodes, this adds an element of either past karmic energies or future creative energies. And this lunar eclipse is happening with the North Node, which symbolizes future, which symbolizes growth going forward, pulling us out of the unconscious and into the world of form. This lunar eclipse might bring up an awareness of deep inner needs that are still looking to be fulfilled, needs that we have that will propel us forward into learning, into growth, into the future self that we envision. This lunar eclipse is happening in the tropical signs of Pisces and Virgo, and that Pisces-Virgo polarity will come to play in the intensity of the energy, sun opposite moon. Virgo, preciseness, the perfection of the priestess who needs things to be just so in order that the ceremonies can be most effective. Now, this polarity of precision and perfection sees its opposite in Pisces, where everything sort of flows into everything, and there's an amorphous feeling where there is a question of what is real, what is actually true. The clouds of Pisces can prevent that awareness, or they can heighten awareness depending on how those energies are experienced. Now, this eclipse is happening. Astronomically, the moon will be located right near the flow of the water out of the urn of Aquarius. Aquarius, the water bearer, who is closely aligned to the god Enki, the ancient Sumerian god Enki, who is actually the good uncle that rescued Inanna from the underworld. So Enki, or Aquarius, is just full of these gifts and these resources that are poured, like the water is being poured out. He's called the water bearer, but the actual figure of this constellation is showing a figure pouring water out. He's the water pourer. And what does this water symbolize? It could symbolize so many things. So it could symbolize actual resources, the flow of humanitarian, from that perspective, humanitarian, a sharing of resources. It could also mean the flow of information coming up from the unconscious to the conscious mind, or the flow of perception or intuition, nourishing the psyche. When the unconscious and conscious minds can be melded, can meet in that imagination realm, in the imaginal realm, there can be a flow of new energies and new awarenesses as we allow sometimes what we have repressed for a long time to finally come to the surface. What are we ready to be aware of? What are we ready to see? And how will that contribute to our cultivation of this inner freedom that is really the true goal of spiritual and psychic awakening? To access this limitless consciousness where so much more is available to us than what we have been given through programming, through culture, through all the unconscious ways that we have been formed. Now, in sidereal astrology, the sky is not seen just by the constellation, but by the stars that line up with that constellation in the sky. And at this full moon that is happening right near the flow of the urn of Aquarius is also aligned with one of the brightest stars in the sky that is called Achernar. Achernar is a hot blue white star that symbolizes the end of the celestial river. It's a river that goes through the sky that starts in Aries and ends in Aquarius. And it symbolizes the river of life, the river that it has so many different aspects to it. It has calm waters, it has eddies, it has rapids, it has cascades or waterfalls. This river of life is symbolic of the trials and tribulations, as well as the periods of calm that we experience through our cosmic evolution. So this full moon is actually a time to look forward with that north node, to cultivate the inner freedom that required in order to experience the images that will unlock your consciousness into larger ways of seeing, being, and dreaming. As well as this full moon is marking the end of a time that is meaningful to each person. So what is coming to an end? What trials and tribulations can be looked back on and celebrated, as well as appreciated? We survived. Now we are here at the end of the celestial river, and the end of every river means that it is merging with the ocean, with the greater cosmic knowing. So it's almost like your own personal trials and tribulations, or maybe even ancestral or tribal experiences that have been completed, are now can flow into the cosmic ocean of oneness, where all the trials and tribulations of being human just melt into the big ocean, the mother ocean, where all is dissolved, finally. Another constellation that this full moon is near is the Phoenix. So again, that symbol of rising from the ashes, of death and rebirth. That's a straightforward, the Phoenix. So for this full moon eclipse, it is important to clear the consciousness, to have that emptiness, so that the upgrade that can be brought by the light of this full moon can be received by an open and clean consciousness, so that the gifts can flow from the urn of the water bearer. What kind of gifts could be illuminated by this full moon? Again, on a collective level, may it mean that the resources flow from from the abundance to the ones who need it most. And there are areas in this world where it is very much needed to allow the humanitarian flow of goods to the people who need it most. May that be so. May that be so as an aspect of this full moon. So on a collective level, may the goods and services flow to those who need it most. And on an inner personal level, may there be an opening within all of us where nourishment can flow, where the resources can be grown and cultivated so that these new awarenesses can bubble up from the unconscious and have the structure of a strong heart and mind to be able to process those images into empowerment, into power making. Because really, celebrating the full moon is just another way to cultivate personal and collective power. This light of the sun that we cannot take in directly is being reflected from the moon. And that's something we can stare directly, receive the light of the sun through the filter almost, or the reflection of the moon. So may this full moon be beautiful and enlightening, and may the energies of it cast a new awareness that brings power and joy. Happy full moon.